Fight Club is not just a movie. It is a manifesto, a challenge, an explosion in consciousness that cannot be ignored. Some will see in it only fights and blood. Some, criticism of consumer society. Some, a philosophical treatise on the nature of personality. But if you dig deeper, you'll find such a bottomless maelstrom of ideas that your world may never be the same again. What if Tyler Durden is not just a character, but the embodiment of an ancient chaos that has come to shatter the illusions of reality? What if Fight Club is not a rebellion against society, but an ancient ritual that awakens something primal and forgotten in man? What if the last frames of the movie are not a release, but the beginning of the most terrible imprisonment? Are you ready to look at Fight Club in a way you haven't before? Are you ready to break the chains of conventional thinking and see the hidden levels of meaning hidden in every frame? Then forget everything you've known up to this point. We're going on a journey down the rabbit hole where each new layer of understanding will shock, excite, delight, and frighten. Watch the video to the end. By the way, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the bell too. Don't miss my new videos. Level 1. Primitive Perception. A movie about fighting and aggression. Imagine watching Fight Club for the first time without any deep thoughts. Just a spectacle of the main characters fighting, shedding blood, and feeling pain. Think of the vivid scene where the narrator first punches Tyler in the ear in the parking lot, tentatively, but with a great internal need to vent his accumulated emotions. Or that brutal moment when Tyler fights Lou, the bar owner, getting punched in the face and drenched in blood, but continues to provoke and laugh, showing unbridled aggression and a thirst for pain. And how can we forget the narrator's fight with Angel when he delivers brutal blow after blow, almost losing control of himself, filling the audience with primal terror and delight at the same time? Or the scenes where the members of the Fight Club stand in a circle, rapturously watching the brutality, completely immersed in the atmosphere of violence and adrenaline. On this level, the movie is perceived as a colorful, spectacular entertainment filled with primal rage and violence that stirs the blood and awakens the instincts. Psychologist Conrad Lawrence wrote that aggression is a natural part of human nature. But is that all we can see in this movie? Level 2. A social critique of consumer society. Now we go a step further. Imagine surrounding yourself with new things every day: furniture, appliances, clothes. They seem to give you happiness, status, and confidence in the future. But remember that moment in the movie when the narrator's apartment explodes. The hero watches in horror as his whole personality, everything that made him unique and important, at least in his own eyes, disappears along with his perfectly chosen IKEA furniture, handmade dishes, and carefully selected art objects. Remember the scenes in which the hero obsessively flips through catalogs and dreams of a new sofa that should fit perfectly into his perfect life. And remember how he spends his time picking out every detail of his interior, turning his life into an endless race for things? Or the episode where Tyler says stiffly to his face, "What you own ends up owning you." These aren't just words. They're a revelation that awakens the hero from the deep sleep of consumerism. Another key scene is a conversation with Tyler in a bar when he asks, "Do you know what a down comforter is?" It's a metaphor for all the useless things we surround ourselves with, forgetting what real life is all about. The philosopher Erich Fromm warned us that the more one surrounds oneself with things, the less one's inner freedom becomes. And it is this level of the movie that reveals to us the truth about how consumer society turns us into voluntary hostages of our own acquisitions. The question for you is, are you ready to admit that sometimes it is things that control your life, not you? Level 3. Male identity crisis and the search for meaning in life. Now think even deeper. Why are grown men fighting in the basement? It's not just an outburst of aggression. It's a cry of desperation in search of real, authentic emotions that have long been lost in the dull, monotonous, and meaningless existence of modern man. Think of the scenes when the narrator works in an office, performing meaningless duties day after day, his eyes empty and his life mechanical and lifeless. This feeling of inner emptiness pushes him to attend support groups for the terminally ill, where he tries to feel something, even if only through someone else's suffering. Remember that poignant scene when he cries in the arms of a stranger at a testicular cancer support group meeting? It is there that the hero feels the authenticity and intimacy of human contact for the first time in a long time. However, he soon loses that too, when Marla, a woman who also attends support groups, shows up, exposing his deception and making him feel empty again. Tyler says harshly, "We are a generation of men raised by women." Hidden in those words is a deep problem. Modern men have lost touch with their masculinity and identity. Recall the moment when Tyler admonishes the club members with the words, "You are not your job, you are not your bank account, you are not your cars." These words get to the heart of the crisis, where the man no longer knows who he really is. Chuck Palahniuk, through his characters, asks the brutal question, what does it mean to be a man today? Look at the characters obsessed with pain and cruelty, just because it is the only thing that makes them feel alive. Think of the scene where the narrator brutally beats Angel, deforming his face as if in an attempt to erase his own weakness and insecurity. Do you feel this crisis within you? Ask yourself, do you have enough real, genuine emotions in your life? Or have you also lost them in the endless routine and the usual comfortable meaninglessness? Level 4. Internal personality conflict. Let's dive even deeper. Imagine your shock when you realize that Tyler and the narrator are the same person. Think back to the dramatic scene in the office where the narrator violently fights himself in front of his boss, smashing himself against furniture and walls, scaring and shocking all the witnesses with his complete inadequacy. Or the moment when Tyler gets into his car and drives it at breakneck speed towards oncoming traffic, causing the narrator to scream in terror. This scene symbolizes the complete loss of control over his own life and the internal struggle for power over his mind. Now, think back to the episode when the narrator tries to stop his own second self from implementing Project Mayhem and realizes that everyone involved in this radical movement takes his words as a loyalty test because they see no difference between him and Tyler. Or that terrifying scene when the narrator is horrified to discover that he is Tyler, realizing that his own personality has been split into two opposite sides, rational and chaotic, controlled and unrestrained. Carl Jung said that the most important battle is the battle with oneself, with one's own shadow, which is always lurking in the depths of the subconscious and can take control of a person. Fight Club shows how scary this fight can be, because the worst enemy really lives inside each of us. Have you ever faced such an internal conflict? Are you ready to admit that the worst enemy can live inside of you and wait for the opportune moment to completely take over your life? Level 5. Nihilism and liberation through destruction. Now we come to an even deeper level. Imagine the world around you collapsing, literally collapsing, as in the last scene of the movie where skyscrapers explode and collapse, symbolizing the collapse of old ideas and values. The characters watch the destruction with relief, as if freed from the shackles of the past. But let us recall other episodes that emphasize the nihilistic idea of liberation through destruction. For example, the scene in which Tyler Durden and the narrator prepare with cold calmness to blow up a credit card company building, destroying the financial data of millions of people. The idea expressed here is that only the radical destruction of old structures can lead to complete liberation from debt slavery and the illusions of modern civilization. Recall the scene in the store where Tyler puts a gun to the head of the young cashier, forcing him to confess his dreams and hopes. Tyler explains to the narrator that this young man will wake up tomorrow morning feeling completely free, realizing that death was so close. Here we see how the shattering of ordinariness, even through the threat of life, can lead to the realization of true freedom. Or the episode where the members of Project Mayhem destroy public symbols, smashing billboards, outlining buildings, provoking chaos, as if erasing all previous reality built on lies and conformism. All of this becomes part of Tyler's global idea, the complete cleansing of the world of old, rotten structures. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "To create the new, you must destroy the old." It is this philosophy that Tyler and his followers embody. Fight Club becomes not just a movie, but a true nihilistic manifesto, declaring that true freedom is only possible through a radical rejection of old moral and social structures. Would you dare to destroy your familiar world in order to find true freedom? Are you ready to accept chaos as the only way to purification and the birth of a new reality? What did you think and feel when you watched this movie? Which interpretation is closest to you? Tell us in the comments. It will be interesting. And now I highly recommend you to watch my other video where I talk about 6 levels of understanding of the movie The Shawshank Redemption. You just got the link to the video on your screen. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. I did my best, and I'll see you on the Shawshank Redemption video.